Hi there. So the subject of this week's talk is, what is interbeing? Interbeing is a relatively new word that was created by my teacher, the Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. On the full moon day of February in 1966, Thich Nhat Hanh created his school of Buddhist practice called the Order of Interbeing, or in Vietnamese, Tiếp Hien. I know I mispronounced that for you Vietnamese watchers. Please forgive me. The brown jacket that I'm wearing right now is a symbol or a marker of being an ordained member of the Order of Interbeing, or the OI as some people call it, Thich Nhat Hanh's school. The OI jacket has these great big pockets for snacks, and so I like to call it the snack jacket. In order to look more deeply into what interbeing is, let's look into being. So let's start by looking at the way this piece of paper is being. If I look very deeply into it, if I look creatively, even poetically into this piece of paper, I start to see a lot of things. A wonderful story unfolds. In this piece of paper, I see a forest of trees, lumberjacks, mills, truck drivers. And if I look even a step deeper at the trees, well, then I see the minerals and the earth around their roots. I see the rain falling from the clouds above them. I see the sun shining from outer space. If I look deeply enough into what's really here in my hand that I'm conveniently calling a piece of paper, I will see the whole cosmos. What I will not see, in fact, the only thing that I will not see, is something uniquely or independently paper. This piece of paper, as we call it, is made up entirely of non-paper elements, like trees and the sun and the clouds and the stars. So it is not the case that the piece of paper is and the cosmos is in some separate way, in some independent way, but rather the piece of paper and the cosmos are. They are demonstrating for us interbeing. I like to think about this by distinguishing between what I call ultimate reality and everyday reality. In everyday reality, it's very useful for me to call that a piece of paper. It's very useful for me to know that that's a piece of paper and not a piece of toast. But in ultimate reality, they are not operating or existing in some separate way. They are interdependently co-arising, as is sometimes said in traditional Buddhist teaching. They inter-are. They are interbeing. My father, for example, passed away 20 years ago, when I was in my 20s. He and I didn't get along very well back then, and to be honest, I was a little resentful about the fact that I look so much like him and that I carry so many of his habits and perspectives. A lot of time has passed since then, and now I just have a lot of love and compassion for him. I think about how much he suffered, how difficult his short life was. When I look down at my hands, which are very similar to his were, I see my father. Without my father, these hands aren't here. Without my father, I'm not here. I can't really say that at some point my father ends and I begin. We inter-are. My father and I are interbeing. Let's look at another example. Think about a wave forming on the ocean. It appears to have a beginning and a middle or a cresting point, and then an end where it crashes and recedes. It appears to go through this life cycle, to be born and to die. But the wave knows that the entire time it is the ocean. And in this way, the wave is very beautifully practicing interbeing. It's not experiencing some of the anxieties that we may experience because we forget. We are of a nature to forget. We forget that we are completely connected to all of this. Not to be too hard on ourselves, it's easier for us to do. The wave doesn't jump out of the ocean, towel off, get in its car, and drive somewhere else at the end of the day. No sooner than the tree pulls up its roots, shakes off the soil, and goes to Starbucks for a latte. Because we have this mobility, it's easy for us to forget that our life is just as rooted in Mother Earth as the biggest tree in our backyard. The earth and human beings inter-are. Take away the earth, no human beings. I have the desire to bring more and more of the understanding of ultimate reality into my everyday reality. I don't want to feel anxious and separated and isolated and feel like I'm this separate thing, separate from everything and everyone that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. I want to feel really connected to the ground under my feet, to the people I see walking down the street, even if they are strangers. In order to do this, I have to practice interbeing. This is not just a concept. It's a practice, and a very important one. Today I'll give you 2 techniques. The first is eating meditation, and it's very simple. Every time you sit down to eat, or maybe not every time, maybe once a day, maybe once a week, try it. I look down at my food, and I remind myself that if there was not the sun shining, this food would not be on my plate. No sweet potatoes, no broccoli, no rice, if there is no sun. And so that makes me aware, reminds me that in essence, as I eat this food for energy, I am eating the energy of the sun. And so I make a promise to myself before I begin that meal that if I'm going to receive this gift of the energy of the sun sitting on my plate, that I'm going to express my gratitude. I'm going to return the favor, if you will, by shining the energy of the sun out into the world with my life, meaning with my triple karma of my thoughts, my speech, and my actions. Now that's a lot to say every time you're about to eat, and so I abbreviate it to sunshine in, sunshine out. And so that's one simple practice that's available to you every time you eat that will help you to begin to look more deeply into the food you're eating and use it as a door into the truth of interbeing. Second practice is something called Just Like Me meditation. And this is a very, very simplified version of this practice. But imagine you're scrolling through your Instagram. Right? What are you looking at? Predominantly people, faces, some of which you know very well, some of which are strangers. So I invite you, when doing it, maybe just for a couple of minutes, to pause at each person's face. Look right at their face and think to yourself, this person is a human being, just like me. This person suffers, just like me. this person wants to be happy, just like me. This person is a human being. This person suffers. And this person wants to be happy, just like me. And then move on to the next person. In that way, we are training our minds that are spending most of their time very practically dealing in everyday reality, but we are training them to grow stronger and to be able, while doing the tasks in everyday reality, to be able to simultaneously hold the truth of ultimate reality. In this case, the truth of interbeing. Thanks so much for watching. I post a talk here on YouTube every Friday, and I'd love some comments or feedback. Let me know how these talks are landing, and also feel free in the comments to ask any specific questions you might have about mindfulness practice, or to make a suggestion of a topic you'd like to see me cover in a talk in the future. I have links below for my Instagram and my Facebook, where I give shorter talks but more often throughout the week. If you enjoy this kind of talk and want to hear more of it, please subscribe below and make sure to click the bell icon so that you get an alert. Please share these talks with your friends who are new to the practice, or your Sanghas who'd like to maybe listen to them together as a practice. We got this.